Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today.
Hello.
I'm Frederic, and the other guy is Armin.
Hello.
We want to talk to you guys a little bit. The last couple of years, we've been involved with different companies, and a few observations we want to share with you, together with some lessons, because we've seen that there's an interesting divide, or let's say gap, between design and development, even though everyone is actually working on the same product. So just a small plug for me and Armin. We work at the product and UX team, the books at the TX Markets, and we deliver our services to all the companies within TX, like an internal agency. So we learned a lot about the digital development process and creating products, and of course, about the great diversity of people and different roles that entails. So I'm going to give it to Armin to talk a little bit about the gap we want to highlight today.
All right, thanks, Fred. So you might be asking yourself, what is this gap I keep referring to? So let's try to explain it. So we're developing digital products. We ourselves are designers or UX designers, and we work with developers. But the thing is that the things we design and the things that get developed, we don't really communicate directly to each other. We probably should, but we're not doing that. Usually there is product management in between. There is product owners. There is different tools in between. There is, let's say, Jira, and there is this sort of translation step, right? You're taking designs, you're formulating tickets, those get handed to developers. Of course, there is feedback loops to correct mistakes, but still things can get lost in translation, right? I'm just gonna take a... This beer is really good, by the way. So yeah, there is room for misunderstanding, and I think we can maybe show it a little bit better by giving a small example. And Fred, I'm gonna let you talk about that quickly.
Thanks. So let's deep dive a little bit into this thing that we're talking about. So as a designer, I would work in my tool set of preference, and I want to design a red button. And this red button has a certain height, a certain width, corner radius, and a few extra values. And basically, on the developer side, we can see that they are using different tools or different languages, but they want to do the same thing. They're making the same values, the same width, same height. This is actually the gap that we're talking about. Like I said, we're doing the same work twice. And that's a little bit the thing that we want to highlight here today. So luckily, tools like these are like one of the tools that help us design on a daily basis, and tools like Sketch help us to visualize what we want to build actually. And tools like Zeppelin or Abstract or Envision that you see right there help us with the handover, and developers can at least inspect or copy values for specific font sizes. And it complicates the work a little bit, so that's why we're tending to go away from these tools. It tends to get out of sync, and they're very expensive. That's why tools like Figma, they're solving the problem in a different way. They help us to work in the same environment from a development point of view. And they actually do all the things that I said before, but all in one platform. So you can design, prototype, and hand off in one online tool, but it's still a design tool. So there's a few tools that actually bridge the gap, so to say. So let me give you an example. One of them is called Zero Height, and that allow us to speak in one same language. So on the left, what you see here is a designer, and he works in his design tool. And he can do a direct plug into the Zero Height from his design tool into the Zero Height platform. And on the developer side, they can use their code from Storybook or whatever other tool you're using. And we can put code and design actually side by side and compare what is actually being done. Instead of before that we had to wait until it was like in production or pre-production, and we could actually inspect it. But this allows us to already do that in advance. And I can already say a lot of companies in the group are using this. Car4U, Ricardo are doing a really good job here using these tools. But why do we think about this for a minute? We're still like I said, left, right, build, like getting together, but in different environments. It's still a bit weird. So there's a few tools that are actually working from the ground up to figure this out in a different manner. And one of them is called Modules. Modules is an app which is doing a terrific job bridging the two. And you can choose actually between a visual editor or code. So both from the ground up, you could produce accessible, performant, production-ready design systems. And it allows for everyone to work into one environment. So I'm quite excited for these guys, but it's still in beta, of course, but definitely have to look out for these guys. Gonna hand it over back to Armin.
Right. Thanks, Fred. So another one that we've been getting to know and playing around with recently is Webflow. So Webflow is a visual design tool. It looks very similar to Sketch and Figma and so on, but you're actually building real websites. So what you're building, you can click a button and it's published, and it's a real website. It's hosted on Amazon, so it takes care of everything. All the technical stuff is kind of solved. You have a database, you have everything there. So we actually tried this with the guys from Car4U here. Shout out to the developers at Car4U. And we thought, like, okay, there are certain parts of the website, like static landing pages, even the homepage, that there are large parts that are design heavy. That would be nice if design could more directly influence these things without having to write tickets and waiting for iterations and so on. And that actually doesn't need development time, that we can use a system like that because it is it's working so well that we can do that. And we've been involving development, or we've sort of co-created this and worked this out, and they're actually testing this. I believe it's already live in some parts, so that's a great effort there. Another one I've come across recently is Bubble. So Bubble is similar to Webflow. It's a visual design tool. It actually goes a little bit further in that it is a lot more technology focused. So you can actually build functional websites that have a lot more technical sides to them. So you have a relational database. You can create your own data sets very easily. You have workflows that you can create that work with every API out there. Basically, you can integrate tons of really good services that are out there, and you can do things like build Twitter on Bubble. And I actually did that tutorial. It took me about 10 hours to complete and learn Bubble in the meantime, and it was working. You know, it was a real Twitter clone. So you could do sign up, log in, you could post tweets, you could reply, like, share, you could do all the things that you can do on a simple level on Bubble. And why that is great is that now it is actually in the realm of possibility that a designer or someone who's interested in design and building prototypes, for example, can build the real thing, and you can try things out with a real working. It's not even a prototype that anymore. It's actually a working thing. So I think there's a lot of great possibilities that come with that. But what's next? This is of course only a very, very small overview, since we only have 15 minutes. But what else? How far could this go? So I'm going to hand it back over to Fred, and he's going to show you some cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to show you an example. This is a guy that sent out a tweet a couple of weeks ago. how AI is coming into the design world a little bit. So GPT-3 is basically a model for AI, and it's the most powerful language model at this moment. And what this designer actually was able to do was he hooked up his Figma, so his component library, together with a language processor. So here on the right, you can see him typing what the description of what he wants it to be, and the model actually spits it out for him. So here he's going to create a hero image with a section light mode and a heading, and with some copy and text, and it just generates it for him. This is just a small preview. You can maybe look at the tweet on itself, but this allows us to have PMs and people that are not so much into code or not so much into design or development to also play around with these things and still be in the boundaries of a design system or of the things that we've actually generated. This doesn't mean that we can all start looking for new jobs. They allow us to focus on the right things and make the tedious tasks a little bit easier. Yeah. So what does that mean?
What does that mean? Right. Let's take a look at what does that mean. We've narrowed it down into 3 key takeaways that we think are important when it comes to these kinds of tools and so on. So the first one, involve development early and often. So I think this is going to become more and more important. So as designers and as product development teams, you need to involve development much earlier, because you are potentially, as a designer, if you're using something like Webflow or Bubble, you are potentially designing real things already. And of course, we need developments insights and their naming conventions and whatnot, and need to make sure it works with their parts. So it actually makes a lot more sense to involve them much, much earlier. Secondly, as a designer especially, embrace the concepts of coding. So there's always this question of should you learn to code as a designer? I would say if you want to, if it's fun for you, then go for it. But I think more importantly is to understand and learn about the concepts of coding and development, and learning about, let's say, what a relational database does, or how an API works and what it can do and what's out there. And also talk to your developers and see what are the things that they are working with, what are the challenges they have, the capabilities that they have, and really learn about them as a designer, or at least in your design team have someone who wants to get into that sort of area. But I think it's going to be really important. And the last and final one, this is more for companies out there. You should provide the room to experiment with these things. So we have seen from Car4U that they were really up for doing these things and trying it out and giving it a go. And I think as a company, it's important to look at these tools. They are really becoming mature. They're really becoming powerful. These tools are very, very accessible. You just sign up. They're very cheap for what they can do. And they really are becoming so powerful now that you can build real concrete things with them. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, thanks a lot. So that's it from our side. Thanks a lot for listening. Just one thing, we would love to see more designers and developers bridging the gap coming into 2021. You can find us on Twitter, Frederic Bergmans, and then Armin Seltz Design. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. You have quite some fans here. There was some traffic on the chat, and we have 2 questions so far.
Great.
One is from Flavian. You showed us design tools to create code. What do you think about code tools creating designs, as Airbnb is doing?
I can take that one if you want, Armin.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's worth to look at. Like, it's I don't think it's like one solution for all. And I think me and Flavian, we also looked in all of these things. It's like we have to look at the end of the day, how can we make each other's lives easier? It's about involving each other, taking a look at what the other person's issues are and what the other person's hurdles are, like in their daytime job. And if this specific thing can help them so much, then we're easy to adjust. And then I would expect the other way around as well. And then we can see how we can make it, just better for everyone, I guess. Armin, do you have anything else to add to that?
I think you answered that really well.
So you exhausted the topic, Frederic. Okay, but there's another question from Anna. These tools are obviously awesome, but isn't there also a lot of risk if this work is done by non-experts?
Yes, of course, there's always that risk. I think one of the main things to do there is to exactly involve the experts. So get developers in there and ask them. Look, I'm trying out this, I don't know, I'm building a login system and I'm trying this out, even though I'm a designer. What are the things that I should look out for? And I mean, we have many experts even in the wider group. So if you're worried about, let's say, security, then there is someone for that. We've also seen the TX mentoring bot, so you can find people easily that help you out. You know about that, right?
Yeah.
And but other than that, I mean, these tools are really what they allow you is because they make things very simple. You actually can do not that many mistakes, right? There is only so many things you can get wrong if you're not building code, right? With code, obviously, a lot of things can go wrong, and there's like errors and so on. But it's a lot harder with these visual tools that you get things fundamentally wrong. But yeah, I would say in general, involve other people who are experts, and then it will all be good.
Yeah, I think it's just one more thing. I think it's really good to, it's fine to just play around and prototype. But then when it comes to putting this actually live or doing something with it, it's important to involve the appropriate teams that are around in the company. That's where this relationship building between everyone comes in, where you can see like, okay, this is where my responsibility starts. This is where my responsibility ends. I can play around, I can test in it in our environment, but then still go and check with marketing or development or the people that are responsible for that thing. Hey, look, is this something that we can release? What do you guys think? I don't want to take ownership out of this. I just want to play around and see if this actually would make your life easier. That's a little bit the thinking that goes into this.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe as a last thought on that, what's great is that these tools, when we're starting to build things together, development and design, is that we're not actually creating that much extra work. It's not like we're playing around and you're building a fancy prototype and you're taking all this time, or you get developers and take their time away. But since you're saving time later on because they don't have to recreate everything, it actually leaves you more room to experiment and play around. And I think that's what's great about these tools. Perfect.
Thank you, guys. We don't have no more questions, so I wish you all a good evening. And
thank you so much.
To you too. And cheers, everyone.
Bye.